We are live. We're live. We'll
Hello.
let the audio catch up.
Okay.
I actually thought about it yesterday, and now it makes sense to have the intro on a live stream because it doesn't start right away. But that's why when Ronnie would go live, I'd be like, how did you just start your live talking? And he's like, I just started talking, but it just, because there's a delay, it never actually starts at a full sentence.
I gotcha.
But either way, we're going to do something a little different. It's the same, but different.
Okay.
And essentially, we're sitting different. We're in different locations. And the lighting's different.
True.
Because I'm a complete darkness.
Move the camera to there and it should lighten you up,
Yeah, maybe.
in theory. But like aimed at you, not me.
Yeah, I was just trying to prevent Max from having access.
No, that didn't help.
Yeah.
But also you have your screen turned down all the way so you don't know what it actually looks like.
Ah, well, whatever. We're still here. And I got some headlines I want to go over, and we're gonna have a chat. We're gonna have a little bit of a conversation.
Conversation Street?
It's not Conversation Street. It's Conversation Neighborhood.
Okay.
We're gonna go Conversation Hotel.
Okay.
Conversation City. Let's go Conversation City.
You said hotel and city, so you're about to talk about what I was going to talk about tomorrow.
Maybe. I don't know what you planned on talking about.
Does it have to do with the hotel and the city?
I mean, technically, I guess.
Okay, then maybe not. Since you said it that way, maybe not.
But we're gonna go because Conversation Street was Grand Tour and Cars.
Yeah.
Street makes sense. We're gonna go with Conversation City because we're not just on the street. We're everywhere.
Okay.
We up in here. And let's see if you're here, let it be known. Smash that like button. Jump in the live chat, and let's see if we can get 50,000 people in this live stream. That would be amazing. Let's go for 50,000.
Okay. Shoot, man.
You know, we did earlier today. We went over the highest viewed YouTube videos, but I wonder what was the highest individual count YouTube live stream, like peak. Like what live stream attracted the most people to watch it at one time?
That's a good question.
I'm gonna look that one up. But the first one here is migrant families begin leaving NYC hotels as first eviction notice kicks in.
Nope, not what I was going to talk about.
And it says here that the migrant families were moved out of a Midtown Manhattan hotel on Tuesday today as part of Mayor Eric Adams's plan to ease the pressure on New York City's strained shelter system by imposing a 60-day limit on shelter stays.
Speaking of Mayor Eric Adams, did you know that he is a diabetic vegan?
No.
Do you know how I know?
Yeah, I was gonna.
That documentary I've been watching on Netflix, You Are What You Eat, very interesting. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow too. Because
how did he end up on there?
He was one of the people that was in the show talking. Yeah, it's a very interesting show that if I wasn't who I am, I would have just watched him like, oh, okay. But because I am who I am and I think the way I think and conspiracy theories and whatnot, I'm looking at it going, nah, let's see what you're doing here. So
what does the diabetic part really have to do with being a vegan? How does that, like, what's the big deal?
Because the red meats and things can contribute to certain bad things in your body and whatever
So
else.
being vegan and diabetic, vegan is better for diabetic.
It lowers certain things in your body in theory. I'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay, looking forward to it.
I have notes.
Adams, a Democrat, imposed a limit on this stay in October for homeless migrant families, saying the move was necessary to relieve a shelter system overwhelmed by asylum seekers crossing the southern U.S. border. Some 4,800 eviction notices have been sent to migrant families in shelters, and the roughly 40 families that have left Row, NYC so far, in the heart of the city's theater district, are the first of scores of families that are expected to leave city shelters in the coming weeks. One of which, a 26-year-old from Venezuela, who's nearly 9 months pregnant, was among those standing outside the Row Hotel Tuesday morning with her luggage and other personal effects in tow.
So, quick question. Whoever wrote this article, are they on the side of let the immigrants in? Because out of everybody they could have picked, the men who are the fighting age, the men who maybe have been incarcerated before or whatever else, they pick the 9-month pregnant woman so that you feel bad that that's who they are evicting in the middle of winter is a 9-month pregnant woman. Out of everybody else they could have talked about, that's what they picked. To tug on your heartstrings and make you go, well, that's not fair. I'm just saying. I see what they're doing.
I don't know 100% about the AP, Associated Press.
Because they're back and forth. It depends on who the writer is for the article. A lot of them are opinion pieces.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know 100% for sure. What's going on, guys? Denise, Nina, Sarah. I don't know 100% for sure. But let's see here. So, as we were saying, the 26-year-old from Venezuela, like, two things. One, I guess anywhere in New York, you can just go and have a baby pretty easily.
Probably everywhere now. A little easier.
You don't need like a primary physician. You can just go.
You just go to the hospital and have a baby.
Okay.
You should have a primary physician if you're pregnant, but if you don't have insurance, that's really freaking expensive. So
I was going to say, like, maybe depending on where they came from, they're used to not having doctors, and they'll just do it themselves.
Well, Venezuelans, as far as I remember, didn't the Biden administration pass something where 600,000 Venezuelan migrants or immigrants, I forgot which word we're supposed to use here, were given work visas so they could stay and get jobs?
I think some of them did get jobs.
But not the 9-month pregnant woman?
Maybe she's not good at managing her money.
Okay.
I don't know. But she's pregnant, 9 months pregnant, and she's got to go. She said that her plan was to head across town to the Roosevelt Hotel, another midtown accommodation that's been repurposed as an intake center for arriving migrants. And there, city officials say migrant families could reapply for another 60-day stay in the shelter system.
What shelters are specifically for Americans, do they say? Because we have a lot that are specifically for migrants, but how many are specifically for displaced Americans from job loss over the last couple of years, or, veterans or anything like that, or domestic abuse victims and women's shelters and kids and stuff?
Those are probably extremely overrun, but also probably get less funding.
And also probably have people moved out so they could bring in the migrants instead.
So she said that she's going across town. And then there's another one, 40-year-old mother from Colombia said that her 3 children have mixed feelings about leaving the Row. And the family had been living at the hotel for more than a year. A year.
So in an entire year, you haven't... All right.
But, like I said, some, okay? And they have saved up enough to rent a 3-bedroom apartment in nearby Newark, New Jersey. So
okay, that's a plus.
She says they like it here, but you can't cook in the hotel and they miss home-cooked food. Martinez said in Spanish as she and her husband loaded their belongings into a waiting rideshare. They're also a little sad because of their school. They'll have to change and get used to a new school. I mean, I guess if you got used to an entire new country, you can get used to a new school, right?
I would think so. I like how in the beginning of the article it says the woman and her 3 children. They don't mention the husband until you mention putting luggage in a car. Then the man is brought into the story.
But I think more interesting than that would be the qualifications to rent an apartment.
In Newark, New Jersey?
Yeah.
Where, as long as you have, well, who says that it's, I mean, they said apartment, but what if it's somebody who owns a duplex? That can be considered an apartment maybe, or if there's 3 places and they are doing it on their own as opposed to at some big place, kind of like where we live, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just curious how that works out. Maybe there's some sort of incentivized program for landlords
To house immigrants who've saved enough money but might not actually have jobs. I doubt that. As dumb as some of the Biden administration things have been, I doubt it's gone that stupid.
Well, where are they getting the money from?
I don't know.
Where are they getting the money from without a job?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of cash day labor everywhere. I mean, the women, the mom could have been doing housekeeping. She could have been doing babysitting. She could have been doing cooking. Then. Yeah, she has a job. Just because it's not a W-2 doesn't mean she's not making some sort of money. But it is hard to go get an apartment or a home or any kind of loan anywhere or anything like that without a W-2 or a 1099. And most of the people who are migrants who are being paid in cash by other people aren't going to have any kind of paperwork to show and say this is what I've done. I guess
they would need a work visa to legally.
To legally work.
Moving on to the next one, a similar issue in regard to housing. Again, we're on Conversation City or in Conversation City. And this one is from the New York Post. So the first one was Associated Press. This one's the New York Post. Nearly 1 out of 4 U.S. renters have trouble paying each month, with millennials, Gen Z hit the hardest.
Well, yeah. True.
Some renters are having difficulty paying their rent. About 24% of American renters are experiencing rent affordability issues amid high rent prices and other factors. This is according to a survey put out by Intuit Credit Karma.
Now, I'm going to devil's advocate this, or I'll be the bad guy. Actually, I'm going to be the bad guy on this one. This is based off a survey, but is it based off a survey of a 21-year-old who's living in the heart of New York City but works part-time at Starbucks and is trying to afford a $6,000 a month rent because he wants to say he lives in, Times Square or Soho or Soho's New York, right? Yeah, or Brooklyn or Little Italy, or you know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to have that thing. It's very hard, in my opinion, to do these surveys and always take them at face value, because you don't know if you're surveying people who are living stupidly beyond their means or if you're surveying people who are doing the absolute best they can and trying to be as frugal as possible.
I mean, 2 things. One, some of the times the survey sample size is relatively small. And B, no different than the documentary you're watching about the vegan twins.
Vegan and carnivore twins.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Again, sample size is really, really small.
Yeah.
Really small.
Yeah. 22 sets of twins, only 21 completed the thing.
Really small.
Yeah.
And then just to be twins, like maybe
it's because they have the same DNA.
I know, but maybe it should have been 22 sets of twins with the same blood type, or like more than just being twins. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? 22 twins of this age, or like there's a lot of varying factors. 22 twins who are certain gender, certain ethnicity, certain whatever. That. I know, but they're mixed.
Oh, you meant like all the same across the board. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but either way, it says that the company said the total share of adult Americans who rented amounted to 36%. Meanwhile, 1 in 10 Americans 69 and older reported they can no longer afford to pay their rent. And, you mentioned responsibility. And I was thinking about Cash Jordan for 2 reasons. One, I highly doubt he has any issues paying rent.
No.
His views are insane.
Yeah, in New York City, yeah.
On his videos. The views that he's getting. I thought you meant the views like where he lives.
No, because he's in New York City.
His views are insane.
Yeah.
And B, he put up a video that I shared a screenshot with you the other day. $5,000 after discounts for a studio apartment in Brooklyn.
On the 30th floor of a 93 story
It was
building.
Nice. It looked a little bit like the one we stayed in Canada.
Winnipeg.
Uh-huh. It looked like the one we stayed at, sort of. Like you walk in, the kitchen's right there on the wall. There's a bed section, and there's a living section.
And a toilet, hopefully, somewhere.
There's a bucket.
You forgot the bathroom.
There's a bucket.
There's a bucket.
There's a bucket with
bucket thing.
a rope and a pulley system.
And a scooper.
So, but also, this building is 93 stories. I don't know how many units in there. There's a million. It has a pool somewhere, maybe on the roof. Which, how would you feel about using a pool on the 94th floor?
Not happening. Not happening. I'm not going past 32. It doesn't even matter. Even if they said, ma'am, if you get to 33, it's half price. You can keep your half price. I can't.
But
all I picture is in the wind, it just doing this.
I can only imagine they built it on an old bank, by the way. So they repurposed an old bank and built this on top of it. You think they forgot to take some of
the gold bars out and you could
Somebody actually bought a tank.
Ocean 11 it?
They bought a tank from an auction and it had a bunch of gold. Nobody knew. They bought the tank. They opened it up inside. It had a bunch of gold inside of it.
That's why that show Storage Wars used to do so well, because you had no idea what was going to be in the storage container. You could get in there and it could just be a bunch of blow up doll bimbos, or it could be, a 62 Corvette, or it could be boxes of old antiques that were worth tons of stuff on Antique Roadshow. You have no idea. And all you got to do is bid on it.
Could be empty.
And then you'd be
I guess they wouldn't. If it was empty, they would just release it to somebody else. They wouldn't do you dirty like that.
Probably, in theory.
But
But who doesn't open a tank? Out of everything to not open, you're like, I found this tank. I don't even want to know what's in it. Well, maybe if you thought there was bodies in it, you wouldn't want to open it.
But even if a quarter of the tenants decided to go to the pool at one time, that would be, it would be packed.
Yeah.
But then they also have the floating pool that's about to open. Did you see that one?
I didn't see that. But when you said packed, my brain thought of sardines in a can, but then I thought of the farmed fish, how it looks in the video, where they put thousands and thousands into the size of a football field, and that's what I picture up on the rooftop pool.
Wow.
There's a bunch of people in there flopping around like salmon.
And I don't know, maybe it's not on the roof, but I think that's where it is. But either way, they got this new floating pool they're about to open up in the Hudson River or something. Pretty wild, but yeah, hard pass.
Yeah.
But it says that in a separate report from Monday, online real estate brokerage Redfin pegged the median U.S. asking rent in December at $1,964.
Is this for homes or apartments?
It just says median rent.
And there's the problem again. Is this a 2-bed, 1-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath? Is this a single-family home? Is this a townhome? Is this a duplex? Is this an apartment?
I'm pretty sure if you go on Redfin and you select buy, sell, rent, or for sale, sold, rent, or however they do it.
Yeah.
If you select rent, and you want to pull the median, I'm sure it's not gonna. I'm pretty sure this is all based off of all averages, asking,
which is why it's an inaccurate average. Which is why it's so hard for people to be like, oh, I see that survey and I agree with that survey. I believe that survey. I believe your numbers that you're throwing out there, Biden administration, on what unemployment's at right now. I believe your numbers, Fed, on what inflation is at right now. You know what the CPI is at right now. When we know that they just take a bunch of stuff, smush it all together, reach their hand in and pull something out their butt with it.
And I would be willing to bet that most apartment rentals are 2-bedroom max. So if you really want to get a median, you're like, oh, here's the median, but 80% of apartment rentals are 2-bedroom max.
Yeah. Every time we say max, he's like, huh?
And 20% are 3-bedroom.
There's a dog by my feet down here, so just so you know.
However, this median asking rent price marked a 0.2% month-over-month decrease. So negligible.
Wow. You saved 12 cents this month.
About 38% of renters said the need to cover rent has prompted them to give up certain necessities. Again, according to Credit Karma.
Necessities seems like the non-give up. It wouldn't be the give up the wants as opposed to necessities.
I mean, do you read between the lines here and assume that they've given up everything else already?
No. I do not. I think a lot of people say they're bare bonesing it and have given up everything, but there's still that one little thing.
Is a
that they
car a
still give up.
necessity?
Technically, no, because most places have public transportation. There's bicycles, there's your feet, there's working remotely. It does depend, though.
I would be willing to bet that some people they will forego health insurance.
Can you legally do that now? Like,
Yeah.
isn't that still a thing where you have to have some sort of health insurance or else?
No, I don't think so. I really don't know.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it changes.
And even if it was like people would pay the penalty then rather than pay for health insurance.
Monthly, yeah.
And it says that the inability to afford rent was pushing 19% of renters to look to their family and friends for housing, with the share of Gen Zers and millennials reporting doing so coming in at 25%. And Credit Karma also found 46% of Americans harbored gloomy outlooks about the prospects of ever buying a home. 46% of Americans harbored gloomy outlooks about the prospects of ever buying a home. Again, I'm gonna go back to New York because we started in New York, Empire State, and from the migrants, moving on to Cash Jordan, moving on to this. I feel like if I grew up in the grind of living in the city, I would probably never consider buying a house.
No, I wouldn't think you would either, because the houses, I mean, I remember us walking around numerous parts of New York when you took me, and the homes there are expensive for what they are. And your brain goes, I could go to a completely different location and get a house 5 times the size for the same price.
But if you're living in the city, you never see it.
Yeah, that's
If you're
true.
living in the city, it's like,
And there's not houses in the city.
it's like I don't dream of owning a pony because I don't see them. You know, like I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe if I saw more ponies, I'd want one. But 46% have a gloomy outlook, which honestly, I'd be curious as to what that percentage was for the last 50 years. It's probably been the same. Been the same.
I wouldn't think so. I would say back in the day, people thought they could get a home way easier because back in the day, and I will say back in the day, like 30 years ago and before, even 20 years ago and before, your income and the cost of housing, they were in line with each other. Whereas now, your income and the cost of housing, they don't add up anymore. It's almost impossible.
But I was going to say that it probably was roughly the same percentage of folks who had a gloomy outlook, not necessarily meaning that they could never do it. They just have a gloomy outlook. But additionally, why? And now your gloomy outlook is the price and the interest rate and your income. Whereas back then, it was
probably interest rates, because interest rates are 18, 22%.
But back then, that's all they knew.
Yeah, so it was fine.
Right. You know, so it's kind of interesting. So maybe back then, maybe it was more of a social economic thing and a racial thing where there's going to be a percentage of people who are like, we're redline. We cannot buy over here.
Yeah.
They won't sell to us over here or whatever. So I'd be willing to bet like that number was probably always that way, but why they were gloomy about home ownership or ever buying a home varied.
Yeah.
And I take that back. Unless it was like pre-2008 and anybody could get approved and everybody had a bright outlook on buying a home.
Yeah.
Anybody could get approved. It was stated income, no doc loans, relatively affordable prices, like nobody.
I mean, I feel like it was extremely easy to get our first home. 2009.
Well, that was after. Yeah. That was
2009, early 2010.
Yeah.
I feel like it was easy then to get one. So how easy was it before 2008?
Oh, really easy.
But it was still easy after the crash because they needed people to buy the homes.
I mean, you had to be qualified. Underwriting was a little bit different. But before that, it's like, hey, I want to buy a house. You don't qualify. Damn it. 100%. So let me give you an 80% and an 80-20. Like, now you qualify.
Yeah.
You can walk away with cash. Like, how is this possible?
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's true.
Right now, according to Freddie Mac, January 4, 2024, 30-year fixed mortgage averaged a rate of 6.62 for the week of January 4.
That's good. It was 7.29 the last time I talked about it.
Average.
Yes. Okay. So that is everywhere. So
Average.
some places are still higher. Some places are going to be lower.
But again, looking back on 2014, we were in the 5% range. I mean, if we can get back to 5%, I guess that would be better.
I mean, 2021, we had 2.32, which is.
Yeah, but to get away from the 8s,
Yes,
closer to the 5s.
That's something we've known before, and so it doesn't seem so egregious.
Grant Cardone joked about the 100-year mortgage, but I think he was joking about it. I didn't read it, but he might be joking about it from the standpoint of you're just renting forever. And he's calling it a 100-year mortgage, but if you were to amortize it over that length of time, odds are you're not going to live long enough to pay it off. So it's just forever renting.
You know what I was thinking about earlier today when we were talking on a different video about apartment versus homes, and a lot of people are like, I can't believe you rent, you're throwing your money away. Isn't it funny that sometimes those are the same people who then later on want to rent their homes out to people? And it's like, if it weren't for renters, you wouldn't have this new stream of income.
You know, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Somebody left a comment on a video, and I read it. And essentially what they did was they put words into my mouth. And they said, so basically you're saying this. No. Basically, I'm not.
No.
Literally, I'm saying exactly what I just said.
Yeah. I hate that. Well, basically, you said, nope. Fully inaccurate. Well, I thought your title meant this. That's on you. I know what my title meant.
We have one comment here. This was the video we did earlier today. I think it's simple. The more you can remove yourself from the system, own your own house, so you don't have to live by other people's rules.
Even if you own your home, you're still living by the rules of the state and the government in your city and everything else. You're gonna have a very.
I'm not gonna address this comment because I just read it again, and I looked at the grammar and spelling and punctuation and all that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
But I will say that just because you own your own home doesn't mean you don't have to live by other people's rules, because the government still exists. But there was one that said it was like basically you said. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Maybe you sent it in the group.
No, I looked and it's not in there.
Okay. I don't think you sent it to me. I would remember that. Basically.
I was just gonna like scroll through here really quickly and see if I could find it.
Maybe it's not worth finding.
It might be. If I can remember it a little bit, it might be worth finding.
It might be worth finding. I don't see, you didn't send it to me, so.
I wish there was an easier way to find these comments. YouTube rolled out a new feature. They rolled out a new feature. They're like, you can upload from Studio now.
Have you used the search bar and just typed in the word basically?
Maybe he didn't say basically.
That's going to make it real hard to find whatever you're looking for then if you've misremembered whatever was said. That's not going to help you any at all.
Maybe he didn't say basically.
Maybe he called you basic. Is that what happened? He said, you basic.
Hang on, let me see. Let's see.
Are you trying to find the search bar?
I found it.
The search bar or the comment?
I found search.
Okay, just checking. Did you drink your coffee?
I did.
Okay.
But either way, whatever. I can't find it. But let me get back.
It's the same thing as, so what you're saying is,
maybe that's what
I
said.
said.
Maybe that's what they said. But we can get back on the subject. All right. There are people right now who are in an unfavorable position as owners, where they have potentially backed themselves into a corner, and now they can't get out because they wanted to buy a house, and the house was $1 million. And I'm using $1 million for easy math and for the fact that pretty much any house you want to buy today is $1 million. And you had to put 20% down. Really probably had to put 25% down.
So say 250
in order for you to fall within the conforming loan maximum. Probably a little bit more than that. Let's just say 30. Let's say you put 30% down. So you wanted $1 million house and you put $300,000 down, which was extremely doable. You know why? Because the house you had before that, you paid $500,000 for, and you sold it for $900,000.
Yeah.
So you had plenty of cash. So you put $300,000 in. Now you got this house. You got a 7% mortgage rate, and you have this $1 million house that you owe $700,000 for. That is now worth $950. You know, we had a little bit of a pullback. We had a little bit of a dip. Okay, so now it's worth $950, and you want to sell it, and you want to get out because you can't rent it because your renters can't afford the rent on $1 million house. So you want to sell it. So now you're trying to sell it at $950. Maybe you get lucky. And at $950, let's just assume that you're doing 6% on commissions. So then that would put you at roughly, actually, I'll tell you exactly because I don't want to butcher these numbers. So $950, and this is assuming you don't need to do any work.
About to say, what happens if you have to do something?
So that's $57,000. Okay. So now you have to subtract that from the $950. So you're going to walk away with $893,000 on the $1 million house that you put $300,000 into.
So that sounds like you lost almost 500 grand. Is that what you're saying?
No, not quite.
Okay. Don't make me do math, especially when my brain's been braining all day.
So, and this is in 1 year. Okay.
Okay.
So in 1 year, you lost $193,000 because you wanted to own your home.
Because of the down payment you made and everything else.
You lost that plus because the interest on the monthly mortgage payment. So let's just say you lost $200,000. You gained $400,000 from the sale. You dumped $300,000 into this so that you could put the down payment down and stay under the conforming loan amount. And then you lost $200 just in transactions, just in fluctuations in the market in a year because of whatever circumstances whatever it may have been. And I got to tell you, even if you had a $5,000 a month apartment in Brooklyn for a year, you're nowhere near losing $200,000.
Yeah. But people are going to say, but then you don't have equity. But to get to your equity, you're going to have to pay a fee on that and everything else too.
Well, I mean, you didn't really have equity in the $1 million house. You only had the $300,000 that you already had that you put in it.
That's true.
That was your money.
That's true. I like being in the apartment. I know some people will say, you're throwing your money away because you're not owning anything and you don't have equity. But it also gives us the ability, if at the end of this lease we wanted to move to a completely different city, we can without having to try to sell a home and everything else. And if you want to travel and see everything, that's the best way to do it.
Look, it's all fine. It's all good. You have to make the choice that's going to be best and right for you. Whatever path you choose, you'll never know what the other one would have brought. But at the same time, you get hit in certain places. All right, you need a new roof, $25,000, maybe if you're lucky, maybe more. Florida's high as hell. No, I don't need no new roof. I don't have a house. I live in a condo. Okay. There's an assessment, $50,000, even better. Like, you just never know.
Yeah.
A lot of varying factors here, but I will say, mortgage interest rates coming closer to 5 would put a smile on my face.
Even though the housing prices would go up.
I didn't say all that.
I was about to say, because the 5% is great, but then your $450,000 home, they're going to raise it to $550,000.
I just said they would put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
That's all I said.
I know.
And even before, all right, the first house we bought was a flip that was like 30 years old or something.
Yeah. It was built in 78.
Before that, and even after that, looking for deals put us in properties that needed work or added to our commute because they were more remote than most people wanted to be.
Yeah.
House number 2 and number 3, we did none of that, and we paid for it. Number 3, we actually lucked up. But regardless, I think the same rules will apply. If 2020, halfway through 2024, the end of 2024, we're at 5% interest rates, great. And you're like, well, the housing prices went up. No, we just need to go further out.
Yeah. So somebody in the comments said something about they don't understand why people live in the poorer areas of places instead of just moving because it's hard to leave friends and family. We left friends and family to move somewhere new that we wanted to be at, that gave us less stress and everything else. It's definitely hard to move away from friends and family. But for some people like us, it's worth it to be where we are. Not everybody's going to have that same feeling once they do it, though. Some people are going to do it and be like, well, that was a dumb idea. And then they got to pay to go back. But it just depends.
If you live in an undesirable and poor area,
you probably don't have the means and ability.
And it's why not leave to pay the same price somewhere else that's better?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you leave,
like
theoretically, to go somewhere else to pay the same price, but it would be better, then more than likely the income producing opportunities in those areas are going to be scarce.
That's exactly what they said too.
Additionally, even if everything was a constant, the main reason why most people probably wouldn't do it is because they're afraid. The same reason why a lot of people won't start a YouTube channel.
Fear holds you back from everything, from a lot of things, not everything.
I'm not saying what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like there's a fear there and it renders them like paralyzed.
Fear is just as powerful as love, I think, because the two things will either make you do something or stop you from doing something the most.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that out loud, but.
So it says here that our research shows more than half of Americans, 57%, allocate the majority of their income toward housing costs, leaving little room elsewhere in their budgets. Intuit, Credit Karma, consumer financial advocate Courtney Alev. In general, it's recommended that consumers allocate half of their income for essentials, including housing and other necessities like groceries and household bills. So they're saying half of your income should go to everything. But 57% allocate a majority just towards housing.
That's a lot, in my opinion. 50% just 57% just towards housing. And I feel like
57% allocate a majority. That majority could be 51%.
Okay,
it could
I
be
got you.
90%. It could be James over here with the $5. Appreciate you, bro.
Love you guys. I'm on Long Island and heading to Utah and about to start making content. Thanks, Kevin, for the inspiration. Man, wait, heading to Utah for vacation or heading to Utah to move? Because that makes a difference.
Yeah,
but
we need to know more about this,
We need to know more about that.
We need to know more about this, James.
And are you going to go skiing? And have you ever done it before? Because if you haven't done it before,
Are you going to Moab?
If you've never done it before, I hope you set up a camera to record yourself and put a GoPro on so that there is video footage.
I hope you know how many YouTubers are in Utah.
Oh, to move. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You got Stradman, you got Gardner, you got
Burlacker. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
And if you're into cars, find Stradman and be his friend because he's got a lot of really cool cars.
Oh man, what's his name? Luke Terry's probably out there, and then the guy who raps cars with the long hair. I can't remember his name. Utah is a hub. Utah is a hub for content creation. I don't know why exactly.
Because you have gorgeous mountains, you have nice weather, then you have snow, you have the ability to go skiing and whatever else, and celebrities go there, so you have the possibility of meeting other people. It's just, and because it's kind of in its own little Bubble. I don't hear very often of
So
tragedy
you
here
know
in
what?
Utah.
That's actually kind of funny because Long Island and Utah, northern Utah, I would assume you're going to pick up a ton in value. That puts you right outside of Idaho, which Idaho was. We were only in Idaho City for like 12 hours,
Yeah.
but I would head east and go to Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming's really
Man,
pretty.
Wyoming. But there was a story of a woman, and I think she moved from New York to Utah, and she said, or was it Colorado? Either way, she's it's like the vibe of the people, the ability to build relationships, quote unquote friendships, was
Much easier.
much easier.
Yeah. And I'm about to say, if you've had where did you say he was moving from? Long Island. I mean, if you
Yeah.
have Long Island money, you're going to live like a king in Utah. That's how I feel about it, because Long Island and that area over there, it's not cheap to just live because of where it is. Utah, not the cheapest out of every place you can live, but I feel like you can get way more bang for your buck there, and it's really pretty because of the mountains and the snow and stuff.
But the other one was, I think we saw a House Hunters. I think we saw a House
yeah.
Hunters, and they moved from. I think they moved from New York.
And they ended up buying that house with all the land behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Because
No
I was
garage.
going, I'll go.
There was no
that
garage.
looks pretty.
They bought the house with the land, no garage, but
Yes.
the builder was going to build the
Yes,
garage.
yes. Even I was like, we could move to Utah. It'd be fine. We have to take our own seasonings, though, because they don't season food in Utah. You should know that real fast, James. So
You'll need a utility belt of seasonings.
seasonings, salt, pepper, literally the basics. They don't put any of that stuff on anything.
It'd be like the old back in the day. You have the coins, they're like, and you just have seasonings. The median asking rent in America has posted declines 3 months in a row, according to Redfin. On an annual basis, December's price represented a 0.8% drop, and like, okay, 0.8%. I mean, we're splitting hairs here.
Well, that point, too, you talked about earlier, was like super splitting
A
hairs.
drop is a drop. I get it. You know, we're making headlines here, but come on, let's be real. The online real estate brokerage linked, and honestly, it's like reported asking rent prices dropped.
What about the unreported asking
However,
prices?
The non-reported amenity fees and pet fees and every other fee went up. Those don't show.
Yeah.
So we can fudge. We can move the needle.
So you're saying real estate is like CPI and that kind of thing, where only certain things get put in, and the things that truly matter at the end of it aren't added in.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a grain of salt.
Gotcha.
Like, really. The median asking, or if you really want to get into it, you never have to pay for gas again. Drive an EV and just plug it in and charge. Oh, by the way, it's the equivalent of paying $25 a gallon of gas, and the battery doesn't last very long. And it costs $60,000 to replace the battery on a Hyundai Ioniq 5, and the Ioniq 5 only costs you $45,000 to buy.
And it takes less than 2 minutes to fill up your gas tank, but it takes 2 hours to fill up your battery.
Yeah.
So
and your
fun.
car looks stupid.
Yeah. I don't know why they all look like something out of Tron. Like, why can't they look like normal cars and just have batteries?
Why can't the Porsche Panamera look like the Porsche Taycan? Why does the Taycan have to look so much better?
And that's the electric one, though.
I know, but I don't.
That's the only electric car that looks better, in my
I'm
opinion.
gonna buy a Taycan, then I'm gonna take it to Rich Rebuilds. I'm gonna have Rich I'm gonna have him drop a LS in it.
The BMW i8, that's electric, right?
No,
What's
it's a hybrid.
What's
I'm pretty sure it's a hybrid.
Well, I don't like how they look, but it doesn't matter. What's
i3?
I do not like the BMW electric. The front of it
Maybe
looks like
the
somebody
i8
took a
is-
sticker and just smushed it across the front. Remember when you would get like the toy sets when you were little, and it came with all these stickers, and you got to like put the windows on, and the mirrors, and the doors and stuff, and then the headlights. That's what the electric BMW looks like to me.
Gotta get your tester's paint set.
Yes, that they just put a sticker across the front.
So the
for
i8,
stupid kidneys.
as I recall, because Jeremy Clarkson was wildly in love with this car, which I've never driven one. I have no desire, even though he said it was good. But it's a 3-cylinder with an electric motor mated to it, and yeah, I'm just not super excited about a 3-cylinder. I don't think a 3-cylinder could ever provide me with the audible tone that I would need to be satisfied as a man.
I don't think anything electric's gonna do that.
Um,
I could have made a really dirty joke
Yeah.
there, but I won't. I'm done. It's
so
fine.
the online real estate brokerage linked the price going down to the current high number of rentals available in the market as well as other factors. Okay. So this is actually really important here. The online real estate brokerage linked the price going down to the current high number of rentals available in the market as well as other factors. Moving on to high supply, more so than low demand, is driving rent declines. And that's because we were running out of housing. Running out of housing. Build all these apartments. The demand didn't change. Now we have a surplus of apartments,
Because
which
people still want houses.
is driving the pricing down.
But say, think about the townhomes that went in everywhere and stuff like that.
And they're still going up.
They're still going up. But now they did bring in houses in Georgia, but now it's lease only or rent only houses. So how does that help? It still doesn't give people the ability to own their own home.
But if mortgage rates continue to drop at a fast clip in 2024, slowing rental demand could become a major driver in rent declines. And that's because more Americans would ditch the rental market to become homeowners, leaving landlords with even more vacancies. So, hooray for 5% mortgages because you'll lower our rent. But either way, I think 5% would put a smile on my face no matter what.
True.
Now, moving on to Fast Company, because this segue is moving from the drop in rental prices as a result of high supply. But there's also another big problem here.
Which is?
And this was reported yesterday, January 8, 2024. Fast Company says it only took 11 people to build this Lego-like apartment complex in Florida. Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds good or not.
A 96 unit building was put together like a set of children's building blocks.
It makes me think of those buildings where they come, like the walls are prefab that. Oh, no, that's different.
It's
I was thinking the
literally like Lego
prefab
pieces.
walls where they have to just push them up and then
Well,
stick
we
the four
saw
together.
that when we were in Orlando.
And Georgia.
And I
They're doing
put a
that
short,
warehouse.
I put a short on the channel. I said, count how many people it takes to build this, because there was like only 2 or 3 people.
And a crane.
Like,
and
that was it.
Whatever, because all they have to do is lift the thing up
Yeah.
and then stand there and make sure it's in place. And
this
put
is
safety
Elon
in it.
Musk's dream. He wants to build modular homes that can be delivered to you, and then anybody can put them together with an Allen key.
Well, Sears used to have, you could buy a whole house out of their catalog and it would ship you everything you needed to put the house together.
I think you
So
still
it's
needed
not-
to be like a skilled carpenter.
I was about to say, so it's not anything new. It's just now it's going to cost 5 times as much to do it.
Well, it gets worse.
Oh, good. I was hoping it did.
In my opinion, it gets worse. Because it says that, listen, 11 people is not a lot of people.
No.
Okay? To build anything of substantial size.
Yeah.
With little more than a mallet, a glue gun, and a color-coded instruction manual.
You're going to glue gun my house together? You're going to glue gun my house together?
And we're in Florida, too. So it's not like the hurricane's not going to blow this
I wonder if
joker
that's
away.
what that builder did in the one story we talked about. Oh,
where they were leaking? The whole house
yeah,
was leaking?
35 houses out of the subdivision were leaking. They probably glue gunned it instead of, doing
This
actual
is concerning.
construction.
This is concerning.
It's extremely concerning.
No, I'm not done.
Oh, good. But wait, there's more.
If anybody knows anything about construction, go ahead and just hit the like button. Let me see if it lights up so I know who can understand what I'm talking about here. But it says that with little more than a mallet, a glue gun, and a color-coded instruction manual, a team of 11 unskilled laborers recently built an entire 96-unit apartment building in less than 2 months.
Hey, you know what you don't need if they're unskilled labor, whatever? A work visa or the ability to speak English. All you need is color-coded, like color by numbers for toddlers, and you can just hand off to whoever.
Unskilled. Okay.
That's the key word, unskilled.
In 2 months.
An entire apartment building. That is not safe. In case you were curious, that's not safe.
Yeah, this is a big problem. The key to
That's
this.
like trying to ahi tuna sear a piece of chicken. Like, that's not safe.
No.
It might look fine from the outside, but the inside of that shit's raw and you're going to die. You're going to get salmonella.
No, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bad things are going to happen.
Way too fast.
Yeah.
You're an unskilled chef.
Yes.
Moving way too fast here. So it says that the key to this super fast building project is its unique new construction material, an interlocking block system that snaps together like Lego bricks. Stacked like conventional cinder blocks and hammered into place, the blocks are a streamlined alternative to constructing buildings out of wood, concrete, and steel. And the project was developed and constructed by Coastal Construction, a general contractor based in South Florida that specializes in high-rise housing and hotels. Patrick Murphy is the company's executive vice president, and he says he first learned about Renco in 2010 and immediately saw its potential as a sturdy building material that could withstand Florida's hurricanes. Along with his father, Coastal Construction founder Tom Murphy Jr., he flew out to Turkey to see the material up close. The material is called Renco, and it's made of a fully recyclable mix of repurposed glass and plastic, calcite dust, and resin.
Oh, I've talked about this. They're doing something with that same stuff in a different state, and it's like a 15-minute city kind of thing, and I can't remember what it is, and I have notes somewhere. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
The name is a mashup of renewable and composite. Similar to fiberglass, the blocks made of this composite have high strength and stability and are able to withstand a wide range of environmental forces. First developed in Turkey and used there in more than 100 building projects since 2012, the material has now been licensed and approved for construction in the U.S. The 96-unit apartment building located in Palm Springs, Florida, is the first building in the U.S. to use Renco compared to a conventional project built with concrete. The complex was built 20% faster and 20% cheaper. Now,
They're going to give you a 20% discount?
I highly doubt it.
Highly doubt it.
But besides the scary part about 11 unskilled laborers gluing your apartment together in 2 months, the worst part about this is they've mastered a way to cut down on construction jobs without even using AI. And if they can find a way to get laborers, unskilled laborers, to build everything, then that's going to put a lot of people out of a job.
A whole lot of people out of a job, or it's going to make it so that you're willing to take less money so that you can keep your job.
It's like, oh, you're a lead foreman, you're a superintendent, you make $150,000 a year. But we can get this $30,000 a year unskilled laborer to do your job. We're going to go that route. Okay. So, yeah.
I'm trying to find in my notes.
What are you trying to find?
The Florida builders that I talked about.
Well, this guy's
previously.
in Florida.
I know. That's why I'm trying to find if it's the same one who had the leaky houses.
Oh, leaky house.
I mean, that's what it was. 35 homes were leaking, and I don't know what day I recorded that on. I'm trying to find my notes.
So the Orlando Sentinel says they were sold leaky homes in the pricey Winter Park area.
Yes. What was that builder?
Dozens of frustrated Central Florida homeowners have filed demand for arbitration.
Yeah, but what's the builder?
Residents living in the Hawks Crest at Winter Park community shared their complaints.
The builder should be the next part.
I'm just messing with you.
I know you are. I know you are.
It was Taylor Morrison.
Okay.
Taylor Morrison.
It was a white guy name, and that's a white guy name, and that's how I remembered. That's why it triggered me, because that one's what, Philip something, and that one's Taylor something.
So yeah, but they found a way to build them faster, cheaper, out of repurposed glass, plastic, calcite dust, and resin. Sounds like a really crappy OSB, basically. Mm-hmm. And they don't need skilled labor. They can do it faster and cheaper. They've cut jobs. They've made your housing probably less safe. And they're going to pocket the difference in profit.
And can you get homeowners insurance on that? Because technically, do you have insulation? How's your wiring done? Where's the
If
rest
they're
of
gonna
it?
pass it, it's got to meet code. So it'll meet the thermal resistance requirements for insulation and things like that.
Will you have higher insurance? Because they're like, if you have an issue, how the hell do we replace this? It's not regular siding. It's not regular concrete. It's not regular wood or steel.
It would be. It would not be serviceable.
No, it wouldn't be. You'd have to just tear your house down and start over. They're freaking interlocking blocks. How do you pull them apart to interlock again?
Well. Technically,
When was the last time you were able to build a Lego wall and just pull out the middle pieces? This is not Jenga.
We're building block with the Publix. It's the same thing. It's the similar design. Like
nah, because that's concrete pieces.
I'm just saying, like it's similar. They're interlocked. They're stacked. They're laced. It's.
But they mentioned it like it's a tongue and groove kind of thing. Where
I know. I'm just saying.
And that's not.
I know, but still, it's like you're not gonna be able to pull out a cinder block and put it back in perfect. No.
But
you can make some modifications and adjustments to it. It will reduce the structural integrity of the overall design. But I just feel like, this one, they would just fill it up with some great stuff or something. Like if you had to, it's just like, but the key here is they've figured out a way to build it faster and cheaper, pocket the difference, and reduce jobs, which to me sounds exactly like Bidenomics.
That's true. Build back better. Destroy first so you can build back.
And
I don't know why the third.
I've got good news for anybody who. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I got good news about Joe Biden.
It's almost
as we
over.
Segue out of that through Bidenomics into.
But
I've got good news for folks about Joe Biden, and according to this, Joe Biden will drop out of 2024 presidential race. Top JP Morgan strategist predicts.
Okay. I was about to say, he definitely didn't say he was, but they're predicting he will.
This was put out just yesterday. President Biden will not run for re-election during a tumultuous year that will see parts of the country suffer rolling blackouts, the release of an inhaled C-19 vaccine,
okay,
and a boycott over driverless cars, a top JP Morgan Chase strategist predicted. Inhaled vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
You remember the Dark Knight?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, I think about that all the time.
You remember Dark Knight?
Yeah.
You remember the Scarecrow guy?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy, the one who's in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, yes.
Oppenheimer, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where I first met or realized who he was, because he was the Scarecrow guy in the Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Batman.
So that's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah.
They'll be dropping them out of airplanes like red gas or red flyers. I actually looked and saw the translation of what the lady was saying.
Oh, what was she saying?
I'll show
it later. Because I was trying to get some of the words, but she was speaking Spanish way too fast. I couldn't get it.
It's translated.
Okay.
So it says that, let's see, tops among the budding Nostradamus prophecies was the 81-year-old Biden will drop out of the race sometime between Super Tuesday and the November election, citing health concerns.
I mean, we've been citing his health concerns for a minute now.
Super Tuesday refers to the March 5th presidential primaries and caucuses that will be held in more than a dozen states, including California, Texas, Massachusetts, Vermont, and North Carolina. Michael Cymbalist, who heads the market and investment strategy unit in the Wall Street's Bank's Assessment Management Division, made the shocking forecast in his list of 10 surprises for 2024 over the weekend. Cymbalist issued his predictions in newsletter as a tribute to former JP Morgan strategist Byron Wien, who had made 10 prognostications. This is a tough one. Prognostications every year for nearly 4 decades before his death last year at age 90. So I wonder if he knew he was going to die. But either way, also of symbolists' list was that Americans will reject self-driving electric vehicles following several accidents that have roiled San Francisco and a warning that blackouts will strike New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Tennessee due to a natural gas shortage. Interestingly enough, leave the world behind. A lot of self-driving car problems. I just saw somewhere that one of the autonomous robots at the Tesla factory attacked a worker. And
iRobot.
it says rolling blackouts will strike New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Tennessee. And yesterday we had an explosion in Fort Worth, Texas, due to natural gas.
There you go. So you did talk about what I was going to say.
Allegedly due to natural gas.
Yeah, I had thoughts on that for tomorrow.
He predicted that a new inhaled Rona vaccine currently under development will be available this year and sharply reduce transmission of the virus, that the U.S. dollar would remain stable, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine would drag on this year without a ceasefire. He also thinks that stocks of U.S. regional banks will do well despite the instability in the lending sector in the past year. His prediction that Biden would bow out was partly based on the president's low approval rating, despite around 10% job creation since his inauguration. Around 10% job creation since his inauguration. However, as we move forward here, we're seeing how jobs can be eliminated by way of this composite resin building product, 11 unskilled laborers, AI, driverless cars, like literally to the point of which we don't even need Uber drivers. Like 10% job creation since inauguration. What manipulation of the numbers have we done here, much like we have with median rent prices and CPI numbers? All I'm saying. The strategist noted that Biden's high job creation figures are the byproduct of his inauguration, coinciding with the rollout of the C-19 vaccines and a reopening U.S. economy, which in essence basically means he was just in the right place at the right time after a terrible situation. So he wins by default.
Pretty much.
It's kind of like how Cal Naughton Jr. won at Talladega because Jean Girard and Ricky Bobby got out of their cars, which disqualified them.
Yes.
Exactly like that.
Exactly
That's
like
exactly
that.
how this works. And it says that symbolists did not predict who might take Biden's place as the Democratic candidate. And they mentioned how Vice President Kamala Harris is unpopular with the public, with more than half, 55.5%, disapproving of her job performance. Representative Dean Phillips, Democrat from Minnesota, and self-help author Marianne Williamson are the only other Democrats who have declared their candidacies. And the two long-shot candidates will debate one another in New Hampshire. Biden will not participate. And another Democrat, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., intends to run as an independent candidate. Despite concerns over Biden's age and mental acuity, the incumbent remains the overwhelming favorite to recapture his party's nomination, with polls showing 3 and 4 Dems favoring him over Williamson and Phillips. It's like favoring getting flicked in the nuts over getting stabbed in the eye with a hot soldering iron and sat on by an elephant.
All sound equally awful.
So,
you know. Well, actually, one of them doesn't really sound bad to me because I don't have nuts. So I'd pick that one. If you get to pick, I'll pick the nut flick because I'm straight. There's nothing here. They'd be like, they get there and be like, well, we can't even do it. And I'll be like, I know. Work smarter, not harder.
Former President Donald Trump remains the overwhelming front runner in a race against GOP hopefuls Nikki Haley, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and biotech mogul Vivek Ramaswamy. And if the presidential election were held today, Biden would lose to Trump, according to the most recent public opinion surveys. And there you have it, folks. Thank you guys for joining us in the dark in this session. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, tip your waitresses. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.